The film I picked to take a scene from to analyze is Michael Mann's Manhunter. You can find this movie on YouTube, Amazon Prime, and Vimeo. The editor of this film is Dove Honig. The film won one award, the editor did not. The scene and the film is adapted from the book Red Dragon. I'm going to play this scene, and then we will talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, this is Will Graham of the FBI. Dr. Chilton arranged for me to talk to Dr. Lecter. Hello?
Hello, Will. I wanted to congratulate you for the job you did on Mr. Lamb's. I admired it enormously. Oh, what a cunning boy you are, Will.
I'm sick of you crazy sons of bitches, Lecter. You got something to say it.
I want to help you. You'll be more comfortable if you relax with yourself. We don't invent our natures. They're issued to us along with our lungs and pancreas and everything else. Why fight it?
Fight what?
Did you really feel so depressed after you shot Mr. Garrett Jacob Hobbs to death? I didn't know you then, but I think you probably did. But it wasn't the act that got you down, was it? Didn't you really feel so bad because killing him felt so good? And why shouldn't it feel good? It must feel good to God. He does it all the time. God's terrific. He dropped a church roof on 34 of his worshippers last Wednesday night in Texas as they were groveling through a hymn to His Majesty. Don't you think that felt good?
Why does it feel good, Dr. Lecter?
It feels good, Will, because God has power. And if one does what God does enough times, one will become as God is. God's a champ. He always stays ahead. He got 140 Filipinos in one plane crash last month. Remember that earthquake in Italy last spring?
What is this scene about? Will Graham, hot on the trail for a serial killer called the Tooth Fairy, takes a call from an imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Lecter, who Graham had caught before retiring, is fascinated by Graham and the struggle for his soul he tussles with during each and every case he works on. Graham has an extraordinary talent for walking in the shoes of psychopaths, but it comes at a cost. The thoughts and mind of the killers he transforms himself into tend to stick, and he's plagued by their particular brand of morality and decision-making. Lecter, who knows Graham struggles with the evil inside him, phones him to illustrate why the Tooth Fairy does what he does, and by extension, what Graham risks becoming as well. The theme of the scene is power. Lecter prods Graham by telling him he must have felt good after he killed a former suspect he hunted years ago, and implores Graham that he shouldn't feel bad for having such a response. Lecter insists it's human nature to feel such things, and that not only is it natural, but it's something to be embraced. Lecter goes one step further by stating that God must feel the same way, as he enjoys killing on a regular basis, even his own followers. In response to Graham asking why it feels good to kill, Lecter explains that it's the power which comes from taking a life. The power that comes from having complete control for a moment over the well-being of another person, and giving into the darkest part of our nature. The psychological implications of the scene and the way it was edited are laid bare by a pretty standard back-and-forth editing style. Instead of using editing tricks to highlight anything, the editor allows the dialogue and performances to stand center stage, and utilizes a nice editing pace to allow the delivery to guide the audience to the thematic revelation. The editing style is quite subjective to me. The entire film is subjectively edited to Graham's understanding and perception of the situations and case he finds himself entangled in. Lecter appears as an outsider into his subjective investigation, dropping in order to offer his own thoughts and further Graham's own comprehension of the case and perception of the killer. The key shot occurs at 2:15 and is a medium shot of Graham sitting in his chair. The narrative fulcrum also occurs at 2:15 when Lecter explains that killing feels good due to the power it brings. This gives Graham the ability to look at the Tooth Fairy's murders through new eyes in the next scene. The average shot length is 15 to 20 seconds. There's not much cutting, In this scene especially, it depends entirely on the dialogue. There's not a lot of coverage and not many angles in this scene, one angle for each character besides Graham's opening shot. In terms of shot sizes, Lecter is shown through a full shot, whereas Graham is filmed in a medium shot. Lecter's full acceptance of his nature is shown through his white cell and dress wear, showing that he's completely exposed to the core of his being, whereas Graham is split, with black surrounding him and bars to the right of the shot, trapping him with his desires and morality. The cutting is not manipulative at all to me. The pacing is pretty slow, but it works with the dialogue of the scene. Lecter is purposefully vague and seductive with his rhythm, and the way he winds his words with the pacing. The camera is stationary, as it allows us to soak in the scene, and Manhunter is quite formalist. Mann is focused on thrusting the audience into the characters' mindsets through the filmmaking techniques. By highlighting the over-exaggeration which surrounds the characters, the audience gets a clearer and more subconscious understanding of the characters. The editing is pretty invisible, and time is linear in the scene. I personally like the editing style. I don't think it's fancy at all, and it works with the tone and setting. For final thoughts, I would say if you haven't seen this film, go watch it.